Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there, staying safe with this nor'easter pounding the northeast and the New England areas. Certain areas are seeing a lot of snow or seeing what they were forecasted to see, but there's other areas that maybe have not seen what they were forecasted to see. But I'll be honest, from everything that I'm seeing, the areas that were supposed to get hammered are pretty much getting hammered. I saw what had already kind of fell about 2.5, 3 hours ago, and it looked like a map that pretty much looked like the National Weather Service snowfall map before the storm started. So, the places inland, those higher elevation areas are getting slammed. In fact, I follow a guy on Twitter. He's got the same name as me, but he lives in southern areas of Vermont, and his area in Vermont has had 35 inches of snow. So that's almost 3 feet of snow, guys. So certain areas are getting absolutely hammered. It's snowing in portions like Boston right now. It's snowing all the way down into New Jersey. In fact, it's starting to accumulate areas of south of New York City. It certainly was kind of surprising seeing how much snow was flying around as far south as Philadelphia. Even snow as far south as northern Virginia. In fact, you go all the way down to the southern Appalachian Mountains here in North Carolina and Tennessee, especially North Carolina. We had a Northwest Flow event that really verified on the way high end. In fact, I think Boone picked up like 4 inches of snow today. It was snowing in the teens and low 20s, so it's been a weird day, but we kind of expected most of it, but there's been some tricky areas, but we expected that. So regardless, not going to talk much on that. We'll briefly talk on it right at the beginning of the video, but most of this video is going to go on focusing in on what's next, which we got a severe weather threat in 2 days. We got a storm, the same storm system that's going to create a severe weather event. It's going to bring a little bit of snow for areas in the northern sections of the lower 48. And then we need to talk about a pretty powerful system that it has the potential to be a powerful system sometime as we're getting into this weekend, into early next week. There's a lot to figure out. There's a lot of chatter in the weather world, especially here in the southeast and the Appalachian Mountains, about this storm system. A lot of excitement. There shouldn't be. We know better, especially in mid to late March. But we'll talk about that. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Let's get rolling here. Watches, warnings, advisories, freeze warnings. It's going to be very cold for mid to late March standards, and I didn't realize that I did not have the projected low temperatures over the next couple nights up. I talked about that in last night's video, but I'll bring it up here on the fly. You have a few counties up here in northern Wisconsin that have winter storm watches. Confidence is growing that we're going to have another winter storm up here. Winter storm warnings all in the pink up here continue for basically the same areas. But, it's wild. You got some snow accumulating here in areas of eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And there's just no winter weather advisories up. So I guess they're just not thinking it's going to be that big of a deal. But everybody in the purple, you got freeze warnings. Going to be pretty cold. In fact, we're going to look at this on the fly. Let's talk about this really quick for you folks in the south. And, we're going to, like I said, do this really on the fly here. But I think it's important because, it's already pretty cold out there here in central South Carolina. But let's talk about how cold it could get tomorrow morning. This is tomorrow morning projected low temperatures. Mid-30s as far south as northern Florida. You get well into the low 30s and 20s. It was cold this morning. I know in my state here in South Carolina, it got well into the 20s in certain areas, especially if you're out in the country. So this will be another kind of night to night where if you kind of are away from the urban heat islands of kind of the bigger towns and cities, it's going to drop probably another 3 to 5 degrees. But the temperatures here in the Midlands of South Carolina, 20s, Atlanta, probably the upper 20s, low 30s, Birmingham going for the upper 20s, mid 20s in North Carolina. You get into Tennessee, it's going to get deep into the 20s, a hard freeze. I talked about this a few weeks back, that there was no way that we were done with cold temperatures. And here we are. Even after this cold spell, I don't think we're done. And then we'll get into Thursday morning. Still sub-freezing temperatures everywhere, anywhere from basically central Tennessee, the Ohio Valley, down into Atlanta, points east and northeast. You're still hanging on to the potential for sub-freezing temperatures. So certainly put a covering on those bushes outside that have bloomed, flowers that you may have planted. I hope you have it. But you're going to need a solid covering over this stuff because certain areas will dip down to freezing by the time it's midnight tonight and stay freezing all the way until about 9 or 10 a.m. probably tomorrow morning, which could be anywhere from a 5 to 10 hour period, depending on where you're located. So make the precautions needed, guys. Let's go on and let's briefly talk on what's going on right now in the Northeast. We need to talk about this. The wraparound moisture is on. So you guys are getting some backside wraparound moisture in Boston. It's finally snowing at a pretty decent clip now. Snow is accumulating on the road, sidewalks. You got many reports of this. You got many reports down here. Let's go to the Mount Holly radar here in New Jersey. Snowing down here, and in fact, you got many reports of snow accumulating on the grass. You got a report here south of Staten Island of snow reporting of accumulating on the roads. Okay, in fact, you have some icy sidewalks and things in New York City. Let me know what you're seeing out here. Definitely interested to see. But the winds are starting to really howl, and these will really pick up and move all the way into southern New England a little bit later. But you got some wind reports into this region where you have, some tree limbs that are broken, getting broken off, maybe some weaker trees. But it's still ongoing, and certain areas have gotten a lot of snow in southern Vermont and western Mass, where certain areas have gotten anywhere from 1.5 feet to 3 feet of snow, guys. So it's certainly verifying in a lot of areas. Let's talk about this storm system coming up. So there's going to be kind of some upper troughing, and you're going to have a piece of energy that shoots off the base of this trough. And here comes the first one. This rides up through. This is going to bring some winter weather for Nebraska. There's no winter storm watches or anything up for Nebraska, but as early as, I would say, the wee hours of the morning Thursday, some frozen precipitation is going to break out again across northeast Colorado, and then across central Nebraska. This could be in the form of a wintry mix. We still need to kind of narrow down what precipitation is actually going to fall. We know it's going to be frozen precipitation. It's just trying to figure out what's going to fall. But Grand Rapids could start off as a little freezing rain, switch to some snow. Areas like Omaha, you're right on the fringe. This moves into areas of northwest Iowa as we're getting into Thursday afternoon. This could bring an area based off the European of some steady accumulating snow into Minneapolis, based off the Euro, and then eventually into northern Wisconsin, and then the UP and Michigan, where I think you could get a quick hitting snowstorm for you guys up here. Just add more snow on top of all the snow you've already seen over the last few weeks. At the same time, you're going to get severe weather down here. We're going to take a look at a mesoscale model to try to figure out what's going to happen, but guys, my allergies are really bad today, so I might sneeze in this video. I almost did it there. But you got a lot of cold air coming in behind this system. That's going to set the stage for cold air for another system behind it. But as this system's kind of moving through, you got some precipitation switching to snow in Oklahoma, in Missouri, sometime late Thursday night into Friday morning. You're going to have some severe storms ongoing here in Arkansas, Louisiana probably. And then this keeps on, and then we see what's next, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But snow from this, National Weather Service only going for maybe an inch of snow in Omaha, northeast areas of Nebraska, a couple inches of snow, northwest Iowa, a few inches of snow, far southeast South Dakota, a few inches of snow, Minneapolis, maybe 3 to 4 inches of snow, but it starts to get heavier once you get up here in northeast Minnesota. And then we switch it to the upper Midwest. And this could be a bigger event for you guys. Maybe some areas could get over a foot of snow in the UP and Michigan. Some areas could get 6 to 10 inches of snow in northern Wisconsin. So this is going to be another big hitter for you folks up here. Down here in Milwaukee to Chicago, no. I don't think this is going to be a big event for you guys. But up here in northern Wisconsin, the UP and Michigan, I think you got another big snowstorm on the way. It's just going to add snow on top of snow. The severe weather side of this, you have a slight risk of severe storms. This stretches from San Antonio almost all the way to Tulsa, but just south of Tulsa. It goes all the way through Shreveport and areas of northwest Louisiana, and then covers up all of southwest Arkansas, some of the same areas that's been under the gun. So the general look of this is, and this is a level 2 out of 5, is this is looking like it's going to be one of those mesoscale convective systems kind of deal. But it's the same deal with any kind of line of storms that forms ahead of this upper trough, this cold front. If any supercells can get going in this sector, this warm sector, moist sector that bubbles up, you're going to have a chance for tornadoes. And you'll see it here in response to this, here we go, to this surface low shooting off this upper trough, you're going to have low-level moisture that gets poured into the plains. So this is Thursday morning. You got dew points well into the 50s, all the way up into Kansas. You keep this going, and look at this moist sector building in Thursday evening into eastern Texas. Dew points well into the 60s, all the way up into southwest Arkansas, southeast sections of Oklahoma, and including Louisiana. So you certainly have a lot of low-level moisture, even down here deep in southern sections of Texas. So you got a big ingredient there. You're going to have a little bit of some kinematics there to put some spin to the atmosphere. We'll dig a little bit deeper in that tomorrow. And some CAPE in response, that storm fuel in response to the growing dew points, the rising dew points, you're going to have some energy to the atmosphere. We'll really dive deep into this tomorrow because there is a risk that this could get upgraded to an enhanced risk. But we'll take a look at the latest NAM, and that's really the only short-range model we're in range of. And we'll start this off Thursday morning. We already have a lot of convection ongoing in Oklahoma. Not really anything in the way of storms, but just a lot of shower activity. But as we're getting into about midday, 1, 2 p.m., some heavy rain starts to move into, the mountains of kind of western Arkansas, the Ozarks, southeast Oklahoma. And then here goes a line of storms that develops around 6, 7 p.m. here in southeast Oklahoma, northern areas of Texas. But look at these cells. If you look really hard here, and I'm going to have to kind of zone in here. Let's see. Let's just look at Arkansas. If you look really hard here, you see how these storms have that little hook to them? That tells me that it's indicating some rotating thunderstorms, some supercells out here in Arkansas, Louisiana, even eastern Texas, ahead of this main line that begins to develop. And as this does, there's going to be a damaging wind threat with this mesoscale convective system, MCS for short. But you're going to have a bit of a tornado threat, even getting into later in the evening. So we got to watch out for this. And then damaging line of storms moves through. Well, that has the potential to produce damaging winds is what I'm trying to say. And then cold air filters in immediately behind this. We'll get a little bit more detail on this when we can. When we get in range of the HRRR model, which does a much better job sometimes than the NAM. So let's talk about, I think, probably why a lot of people clicked on this video. And that is some interesting things showing up this weekend into early next week. So we'll start off by looking at the European, right? We'll start off Saturday morning. Saturday morning, there's a lot of cold air digging into the southern plains, south central U.S., Texas, Oklahoma, and all those states. So much shallow cold air gets in, the precipitation is falling as snow down here, well south of areas like Midland, almost all the way to like El Paso. Snow's falling deep in the southwest corner of Texas. It turns into like an all-out snowstorm Saturday for these guys down here. Okay, it's something we got to watch. New Mexico, you got to watch. Look at a little bit of snow trying to mix in really close to San Antonio and Austin. Okay, this moisture is getting suppressed because a pretty strong high pressure up here to the north. Oh my goodness. All right. Avoided that sneeze. We're good. High pressure to the north. 1038 high pressure is pretty strong high pressure. This is suppressing moisture. That's why you're not seeing any of this moisture bubble up into Texas. So we're getting into Sunday morning. This begins to try to inch its way into the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas, even all the way into far western areas of Kansas. This is a big snowstorm showing up for New Mexico Sunday morning. At the same time, you got moisture trying to get deeper and further east into Texas. But, I mean, look at all this little bit of snow showing. Look at snow showing up south of San Antonio, deep down here in areas that's been in the 90s over the last, some days over the last couple weeks. But you keep this going, Sunday afternoon, you finally get some movement as basically high pressure positions itself a little bit more east and weakens. You get some snow that breaks out over Amarillo, some light to moderate snow, makes it all the way to Abilene. Does it make it to Dallas? It fizzles out. But look, more moisture bubbles up down here in Texas as the southern stream is active. Cold air nearby, and you got an all-out snow event continuing. It might let up, but it continues based off the Euro. And I mean, look at this. We go all the way to Monday midday, and this is 6 days out. But you got a snowstorm in the middle of Texas. on March 20th. Okay? Now, this starts to move in, and then it starts to develop into a powerful low pressure, and then that's when we start to wash the southeast. The GFS shows something similar. Some snow, a little bit of snow showing up deep in Texas, right into this region, sometime Saturday night into Sunday morning. Moisture tries to bubble in, not as much cold air in place off the GFS. Just plain old rain gets all the way up to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Okay, and here comes the moisture that bubbles up. So the GFS doesn't like the idea of anything crazy in Texas like the European does. So we have to watch. Okay, we take a look at the European for the southeast all the way up to the mid-Atlantic. And yes, we'll look at you folks in the northeast. Here it comes. This is a powerful low pressure that begins to develop in the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, but the ridge is flexing a little bit, which means I don't know if this is just because this is digging so hard into the Gulf, it begins to cut, but the ridge buckles a little bit, so all the cold air is way over here. And it doesn't matter if you had cold air. I mean, it does. The problem is we're getting late into March, okay? So we got a ton of moisture. Guys, when I tell you this is a beautiful track, I mean, take this low pressure and put it a little bit further southeast. But if this was January, I know it's very cliche to say this could be something significant for the southeast, but we're talking about March 21st. But there's still cold air around, a lot of cold air on top for mid to late March standards. This moves through. It's a cold rain for folks in Georgia and the Carolinas, but this is still a powerful storm system that could bring anywhere from flooding rains, severe weather, or just some kind of freak snowstorm. It's cold enough, just cold enough for the southern Appalachians to see snow. Okay, and we keep this going, and all of a sudden, it switches to a massive winter storm for eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, and you got a low pressure plowing right into eastern North Carolina, and eventually Virginia. And look at the snow. It's snowing back here in the Cumberland Plateau, North Georgia, heavy snow. You keep this going, and we go all the way up to the northeast at this point, and I hate when it does that. All right. We'll go all the way. We'll keep fast forward, and here it comes. And not to keep you guys, Ohio, out of this, but this does show a big snow for you folks in Ohio. And I have a lot of people who think I skip over Ohio. So we'll look at the Ohio Valley really quick. Okay. Yes, this system throws a lot of heavy snow all the way back into Ohio. Look at my folks in Pittsburgh. You guys have hardly got anything snow-wise this year. I got a guy that messages me on Facebook weekly asking me about Pittsburgh. And I love his passion for snow. And he asked me today, should I put my winter clothing up? Absolutely not. You never know when something freaky like this is going to happen. Okay, I'm not saying this is a forecast because it's not. But here's your blockbuster snow of the winter on March 22nd, March 21st, March 22nd. We go up here to the northeast and look at this storm. Come on, mouse, work for me. And here it comes. This is a massive rain bomb for the coastal northeast, but it pads the stats up here in Pennsylvania, the southern tier of New York, northern areas of New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire. This will be a huge snowstorm for Maine. Okay, what does the GFS show? Same kind of situation. Low pressure develops down here. We have to get this out of the way. And I hadn't even mentioned this, okay? There's a chance for some antifront action where some rain can change to snow for the southern Appalachian Mountains Friday night into Saturday morning. I hadn't even mentioned that. We could have some northwest flow. If you're going to the mountains this weekend, I think it'll be a good late season ski weekend, okay? I really do. Cold air moves in really Friday night into Saturday, and it could be a wintry weekend in mid to late March, okay? Quiet through the rest of the weekend. Quiet and chilly. Here comes this low pressure, and here it comes. We're getting, this is like 5 a.m. Tuesday morning. It's cold enough on the GFS because it's a good time of the day to start out as a little bit of snow in Atlanta, in North Georgia, even into upstate South Carolina. Tuesday morning, starting out with some snow. But, you get to about midday, early afternoon. Temperature's warm. Temperatures become very marginal. But you get in the Tuesday afternoon, early evening, it's still snowing in North Georgia. Even these higher elevations of northeast Alabama. And this turns into a snow event for areas of the mountains of North Carolina and even Tennessee and even North Georgia, obviously. But it doesn't quite make it to the Northeast, and that's just because it takes a further off-coast track, okay? So a lot of people are wondering, all right, Mitch, well, just show me the snowfall map. Well, I'm not going to do that because it's not responsible, and it's just not realistic. It's just fun to look at. All the snow up here is from what's falling right now. Here comes our snow signal from the European ensemble from this system. And I'm sorry, guys, I keep doing this. I'm human. I get allergies. Almost feels like it's about to make me like tear up or something. I keep having these surges or I'm about to sneeze, and then I never quite do, but I apologize for the sniffling and stuff like that. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there just their allergies are kicking their butt. But this is the signal for next week. A few inches of snow showing up. This is a solid signal for the southern Appalachian Mountains. And I mean, not to leave you folks out in the south central U.S. out, but I mean, this is a pretty solid signal for West Texas and even Central Texas. Okay? And a pretty solid signal for New Mexico and Colorado for a lot of late season snow. I wouldn't even call this really late season for you guys. You guys get some pretty massive snows in Colorado in April. So we look at the GFS ensemble, which I'm not sure if it's ran yet, and certainly not as impressive for areas of Texas, but it's there. You look at the southeast, and it is a hefty signal for the southern Appalachian Mountains. Hefty signal. Okay, so winter's just getting cranked up for the mountainous regions, and I mean pretty much for everybody else too. I mean we're getting cold rains, but you never know what crazy stuff is going to happen, guys. I mean, you look back in history over the last 100 years. You know, the '60s was a big analog for it. We had some crazy late season storms in March. I think 1960 was a year where Charlotte, North Carolina, or North Carolina in general, got a snowstorm 3 Wednesdays in a row, I think, in the year 1960 in March. So crazier things have happened, and you never know when the next crazy thing is going to happen. So thank y'all for helping me through that video. Sorry for all the grabbing my nose and sniffling and stuff, guys. Just the allergies. I feel fine, just the pollen allergies and stuff. But God bless all y'all. Have a great rest of your night, and I'll be with you in the morning.